So yesterday we were stuck to our desktop. Today we can work mobilely with our laptops, locations, and we can start to integrate our sketching traditional processes into our technology-centered processes with BIM applications and rendering and so forth. And we can do that really anywhere with a centralized system of models, updating and sharing and collaborating. So you can see over a quick cup of coffee here in Minneapolis, you can create a quick SketchUp type model with articulation and site analysis. So then we'll switch to, I've got a quick example we'll walk through just to kind of talk about what this means as a process inside of FormIt. So this is a quick model I created for a little park infill project, just kind of as an example. You can see I've already articulated a model of what is a park place and continue to articulate that through sketching, in this case all done on the iPad, digitally sketched, and bringing that in to use as an underlay in the model. Which is as simple as, finding an image. This is the same image. Opening it, you can crop it. This is just kind of typically how I work to maybe start a FormIt model, export it out as a screenshot, an image, trace over it, allow it to be an image, give it an approximate scale so it comes in close. You can see it comes in, either putting it, modeling right over it, or setting it off to the side and modeling from it. Another thing you can do is scale these. So I can say, well, I know that this dimension is 40 feet. So if I give myself a line, it's 40 feet long. Smoothly and effectively. And most of the time, well, right now I'm running this on my desktop on a laptop. I actually prefer to work in the kind of the mobile environment. On an iPad, just because of the freedom of it. So there's a few different interface things you'll find between them, but one of the nice things about FormIt in general is that I can go back and forth without really having to learn separate software, worry about it not processing, or if it does process between, does it lose information? And that, FormIt has really reached out to continue to evolve this process of integrating between different hardwares, which is nice and allows that mobile workflow. So very quickly scaled that, and I'll just delete that one because I already have one over here. And then really, I'll just come in here and start to draw right over the top to take what is my model environment. Begin to create forms. Switching back to 3D a little bit. And begin to extrude it in a very conceptual manner, working with that scale. Create groups. We'll switch over so you can start to see, what you saw as an early sketch here. You start to see very quickly being able to understand, okay, what does that mean on the site in 3D? And going back and forth. A lot of times, you'll see some examples later, maybe I'll get this far and I'll take a screenshot and I'll go back into Sketchbook and overlay it again, much like we would with trace paper in a physical environment. The nice thing is I kind of keep it all together in that it's all digital. I don't have to worry about scanning or translating. I can just bring it in and then starting to put it back into the model and articulate and see, well, what does that mean for scale? you know, I sketched it, adding some entourage, and working forward. The other thing that's really nice, some of the new feature that's FormIt's come out with, is these trees here, and actually all the entourage. And we've got a current SketchUp library full of this kind of thing. And with the new tools, those have been able to be translated directly into FormIt objects through the content library that they allow now. You can drag and drop those right in. Much like you would a family in Revit, and translate that actually into a family then in Revit as well. So you don't have to, you know, recreate. A lot of times with new software, one of the struggles is, you know, how do you deal with your existing content? What happens? So in this case, you can bring all of the Revit or the SketchUp stuff right into FormIt, continue with the same materials, and reuse that stuff and translate it, which is really nice. You can even do it with a whole model. So. So again, kind of just moving forward through the process, you start to see, you know, deleted the sketch, didn't really need it anymore at this point. Started to add in some trellises using the group tools. So you can see as I click into here, being able to grab faces, update it together, kind of the Revit and group workflow that many of us are used to, but able to do it in a much more simplified and less robust fashion that allows the design to articulate it without worrying about some of the data and stuff that's inherent in a Revit model. It has its place, but just maybe not when you're doing an early conceptual design. And then, you know, bringing that in quickly, starting from that sketch again, and always, you know, coming back to, well, how does that fit in the space? What does it mean with lighting? The shadows in this, I use this a lot, turning shadows on and off for modeling, but then saying, well, you know, what does it mean as throughout the year, how does the light come back and forth? And the speed at which you can do that is just really powerful, allows the design to respond to it in a very intuitive and direct feedback manner. So to slide through this. So just, you know, again, walking through those same things I just walked through, stepping through what is the design process in a very simplified form, creating some just quick iterative images. And then just want to walk through to see, you know, what does this mean in some real examples, some things that either potentially will get built or for various people. So this first example, again, articulating, you know, what is this process of working through sketches and FormIt models all at the same time in this collaborative environment, an integrated environment. This is a quick example of a little boathouse idea where you can see the sketches in the background, which is where this one started, doing some color studying. So that was created through some mobile apps of just drawing on the iPad, understanding the idea, doing some quick color studies of what are some alternative images, and then bringing that directly into FormIt and going back and forth really through a series and starting to understand, okay, what does this happen in 3D? How does this happen on the location? And do it, you know, without being limited to where I'm doing it or when I'm doing it. But you can start to see what is the sketch in the background there. So, and kind of as another example, so this is just a step through of using the FormIt model in relationship to Revit. So in this example, you can see we're looking at a patio concept. This is a Sketchbook Pro on the desktop computer, quick, very simple sketch of an idea of a patio piece with some landscaping around it. You know, again, bringing that directly in as an image into FormIt and starting to very quickly and iteratively understand what does that mean as you extrude it up, what is the form, how does it play with it, and then in this case, extruding up the building surrounds in FormIt to understand the lighting, what is shaded, how does it fit within its surroundings. You can see that piece, which started as just a very simple sketch vignette, starting to be copied and articulated across the whole patio. And then, which is kind of one of the magic things maybe about FormIt, is having this, in many ways, a direct connection back into our Revit model. In this case, we had a Revit model that was articulated and detailed in CDs and very robust, which from a design point of view is sometimes cumbersome. But with the ability to go really back and forth between FormIt, you can see that that FormIt model is directly inserted in a real location into the background Revit model as a native Revit objects. And then, starting to articulate it a little more, swapping out some of the components to show real Revit objects. And then just adding some quick materials to see in a more rendered view, what does the space mean? You can see kind of some rendered trees in there that were swapped out and planting. But again, you're not reduplicating the amount of work that was done in the background in the Revit file. There's less duplication of work and a more streamlined direct connection between the design and the production teams. So, and then as another example, this is kind of taking FormIt a little bit different direction, but this ability again to start with a sketch digitally, bring that into FormIt, study some ideas, what does it articulate it, and then using some other Autodesk tools that have come out recently with Dynamo is saying, well, I can do this and understand my sketch really quickly and get one iteration. And then taking components in Revit and saying, let's use Dynamo to really study, what does it mean as I rotate those? How many different ways can I rotate in? And not being limited maybe by one decision of one person going through and rotating each of those to some angle, but letting the computational sides of the software iterate and really potentially get the best and most effective solution. So another process one here, just to kind of continue to show you maybe how it works through sketching. This is for a canopy design that's under construction. But again, starting with a sketch, understanding just very loosely what are we looking at for ideas, all done digitally. And then, again, this was a condition where we had an existing Revit model that was very large, it was a 12-story building. Duplicating that in a different program would have been a tremendous amount of work. Trying to work around that natively within Revit might have worked, but it would have been cumbersome. So taking a piece of that to understand the existing facade and how canopies fit into that, and then being able to, in a very rapid fashion, all within FormIt, iterate through 8 different quick concepts of what could a canopy be form-wise, bringing that directly back into Revit through the native connection. And here's kind of that connection piece of FormIt to Revit, where you're seeing the surroundings, you're seeing the context that we've already have in our Revit model, you're seeing the existing building and form, and how do each of these canopy pieces fit right within that without duplicating